What's up, Frenzy Head Nation? Coach Co here. We are in the episode 4 of the weekend wrap, as we are just finishing off with the NASCAR race, which was the last thing I was waiting on. So let's jump into results from this weekend. It's been a pretty wild and crazy weekend on sports this week, as our high school games, most of our high school games ended up getting played on Saturday due to inclement weather around here. The ones that did get in ended kind of late because they had several lightning delays. But we did finally get all our games in between Friday night and Saturday, so let's go ahead and give you those results for those games week 5, high school football action. We had the Addison Panthers getting the win over East Jackson Trojans in a big way. 48-0 was your final score there. Big goose egg. Jamie Rose joining us live on the Facebook feed. Good to see you, Rose. Go Blue and go Royals. Yeah, he's happy about that. We'll be talking about that in just a second here for your Royals. But next up, we have the Dexter Dreadnoughts taking it to the Adrian Maples. 63-0 was your final score in that game. Yeah. And then we have the Blissfield Royals, which is what Jamie wanted me to talk about. Blissfield Royals getting a big win. Who would they be here? Over the Dundee Vikings, 36-18. The Royals are having a good season this year, and that makes some people happy. Hey, we also got Reggie joining the show. Reggie will be happy because some of his picks won this week as well. Let's see where we're at here. Sand Creek Aggies getting the win over Britton Deerfield, 50-22. Big win for the Sand Creek Aggies. And Clinton stomping Summerfield into the ground, 47-12 was your final in that game. The Onstead Wildcats pulling off a victory against our Columbia Central Golden Eagles. 35-21 was the final in that game. The Hillsdale Hornets getting the victory over the Hudson Tigers, 10-6. Hudson having a pretty tough season this year. And in your first 3-point bonus game this week, we had the Lenawee Christian Cougars over North Point Mustangs, handing the North Point Mustangs their first loss of the season. 49-8 was your final score in that game. Madison getting a victory over the Advanced Tech Lakers in pretty easy fashion. 42-6. Well, Reggie, it's funny you should ask that because they did, and I will let you know. I'm sorry, no, they didn't. I don't think we'll discuss that in a few minutes. Reggie on my Facebook live feed asking about if the Maples are going to get a win this season. We'll talk about that after I go through some more of the scores here, but the outlook's not good. I can tell you that much, Reg. The Whiteford Bobcats getting a huge victory over the Morenci Bulldogs, 44-14. I believe I have my scribbles. Might be 17. Oops, I'll have to recheck that one. And Tecumseh falls to the winless Ypsilanti Grizzlies. I don't mean to laugh about that. It is kind of funny, though, that as the 0-4 team beat the 2-3 team. The Ypsilanti Grizzlies getting the win over the Tecumseh Indians, 20-14 was your final score for that game in a wild and crazy high school weekend of sports. Who would have thought this time of year you'd have games getting called due to thunderstorms, huh? All right, these are our moving into our college games. These first games are week 4 games for our local teams, as we had Siena Heights on a roll, getting a huge win over Trinity International. 63-2 was your final score in that game. And the Hillsdale Chargers getting it done against Walsh. Taking it to Walsh, 30-0 was your final in that score. And woo, those Michigan Wolverines. Moving on to week 5 action for the rest of our college teams. The Michigan Wolverines getting it done in a big way against Rutgers, 52-0. And Reggie is a huge Saint fan, Siena Heights fan, and yes, so he says, "Go Saints." Michigan getting it done in a big way, 52-0 against Rutgers. And breaking news about that right here on Sports Frenzy, Rutgers has fired their coach, and they already have a replacement in mind. So I was reading that. I might have more details for you that towards the end of the show. Oh, Indiana letting me down, disappointing me, as the Hoosiers fall to the East Lansing Burning Couches, 40-31. Alabama getting it done against Ole Miss, 59-31 was your final in that game. The Auburn Tigers getting the victory over Mississippi State Bulldogs, 56-23. And one of our Friday night games, college games. Yes, we had a couple of Friday night college games, believe it or not. The Penn State Nittany Lions blanking Maryland, 59-0. And in your late night into early Saturday morning other game, we had Arizona State pulling off the upset against the undefeated at the time California Golden Bears, 24-17. That was a Friday night game as well. And Notre Dame coming back and winning against the Virginia Cavaliers, 35-20 was your final in that game. The Washington Huskies getting a win over USC Trojans, 28-14 was your final. And that was your second 3-point bonus game. And the Western Michigan Broncos getting the victory over the Central Michigan Chippewas, 31-15. NFL action we saw today. Surprising game, in my opinion. But going into this game, I did not know what I knew. Although, I'll say this. Lions had some injuries as well in this game. Slay was out. Who else was out? There was a couple other guys out, and supposedly Stafford was playing with a bad hip. So there was speculation as to whether he was even going to play today because he didn't do any of the warm-ups for the game. And Kansas City was down, I heard, 3 of their offensive starters. So going into this game, I was like, oh, well, maybe the Lions stand a chance. And the Lions did have a really good chance to get in this game, stay in this game. And they did. This was a back-and-forth game the entire game. Believe it or not, I said this was going to be a blowout, and it wasn't. The Lions stayed in this game the entire time, with our final score being 34-30. Lions played with a lot of heart and passion and looked really good against Kansas City, making it very hard for Kansas City to even score. What do we got from Reggie? Stafford hurt. Good game. Wish Lions won. Yeah. But it came down to the final seconds of the game, and that's one of the things the Lions have to continue working on is just trying to finish a game strong. I mean, they did a good job of containing most of Kansas City's guys the entire game, and then they let them get that touchdown in the very end there. So, Lions looking better. I'm not going to get into the hype yet because the Lions have let us down so many times, but I will say that this didn't look like this didn't look like the Lions of old. They had pretty good game clock management today, and they had some big plays. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. You know, us Lions fans for years have been hoping for a great Lions team again. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of great Lions games, all the legends and greats were at the game today. It was a big game for a lot of the legends of Lions past. A few standouts, of course, was Barry Sanders and Billy Sims, both with their 20s. Reggie wants me to claim. Lions winning season. Ooh, Reggie. Reggie's on the Reggie's feeling it, man. Reggie is feeling the Lions having a winning season. Stay tuned. Let's hope he doesn't get disappointed. Speaking of teams that have disappointed in the past but got a huge win today, and Reggie called this one. He said they could beat these guys. I went strictly by records, so I thought but I was hopeful that Cleveland would win. Like I said, I like this Cleveland team. The Cleveland Browns get the win over the Baltimore Ravens. 40-25 was your final there. The New England Patriots getting it done against the Buffalo Bills in what appeared to be a fairly good game as well, because the Patriots won 16-10. And our last NFL game that we had on the schedule this week. So the Carolina Panthers getting the win over the Houston Texans, 16-10. Your top three NASCAR winners this week. We had Chase Elliott at number 1, Alex Bowman at number 2, Kevin Harvick at number 3. So if you had one of those guys, you get a point for your NASCAR winner and race. All right, that gives us a few minutes that was all our picks. We got a few minutes to go over some of the things that are appearing on the Frenzy page right now as far as information and stuff goes. First of all, Reggie, how do I feel about the Maples? I shouldn't be saying this because I still have to pick on the sheets up and coming. But they got a tough road ahead, and a buddy of mine that I talked to who may or may not have a son play on the team says the one game they had a chance to win this year, they blew. So they're not feeling optimistic. All right. Let's go over some quick information that's come up on the Sports Frenzy page for you guys. The Cardinals have won the NL Central for the first time since 2015, and the Brewers are heading to the wild card game. Yes, folks, there's still baseball going on. Probably try and cover some of that here soon as far as when we find out the games and what'll be manageable for Sports Frenzy page, if any of the games manageable for our weekend, because I have to have them as weekend games to make it work for Sports Frenzy. But we'll discuss more about that. And there is on the Frenzy page also there is an update on basically who's in and who's out as far as baseball goes right now. Yes, Rutgers has fired their head coach, and they apparently have their eyes on a dude named Greg Schiano. So that's the breaking news. That was a big breaking news on the Frenzy page. There was a couple other things I had on here for you guys real quick. I don't know if this is the best way to motivate your players, But Washington State coach Mike Leach had lots to say about his players in this game. He called them fat, dumb players after a loss, their loss this week. Great motivation. I'm sure that's going to help them play better for you next week, coach, or get you right out of a job. The new top 25 rankings are out. I can go over this with you guys. Let me see what we got. Alabama took over the number 1 spot from Clemson. Clemson fell to number 2. Michigan jumped up 1 to 19th. And the East Lansing Burning Couches dropped out again. So that's also on the Frenzy page if you want to check out the other top 25 teams. A little bit of movement here and there, but not tons of movement. That's you can check out on the page as well. Couple of firings in Major League Baseball right now. The Pirates fired their manager, Clint Hurdle. He had been with them for 9 seasons. And there was one other firing I saw on here. Yes. Joe Madden out as Cubs manager after 5 seasons. So there you go. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our weekend wrap-up. Thanks, everybody who joins me on the live feed. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Reggie. It's always good to see you on here. Anyway, everybody have a great start to their week. We will do this again on, I believe I continue the live show on Thursday. So we should be back again on Thursday for the live show this week for everybody to watch. Most of my classrooms to watch on Friday. So everybody have a great start to their work weeks and your weeks. And we'll see you guys here again for the next edition of Sports Frenzy. I'm the coach. Be blessed, everyone, and we'll talk to you later.
Somewhere in here. Did you hear them?
I could hear them barking, and hopefully I didn't hear too much of you yelling at them.